Hello, welcome to Oklahoma Moments. Today we have with us a homegrown guest, Anna, Yvonne, Clark, Heath. Anna, welcome to Oklahoma Moments.
Thank you.
When I was thinking about people to have on here and to preserve their history and some of our pioneers in the community, I got to thinking about older people. And Anna, guess who the older people are now? I'm not going to tell you who the older people
We are the older generation, I'm afraid.
And, I was thinking about your mom and dad, and I woke up the other morning, and about 4 o'clock, and I was having trouble sleeping with this cough and everything, and I was thinking about your mom at the library and thinking about your dad, how active he was in the community, and I can still see him walking home, tall, and that white hair. And I thought, I've got to preserve that family's history because they were such a part of our community. And Anna, Yvonne, Clark, Heath, this is your life. Tell me about where you were born, about your family, and how everybody ended up in Wilson, Oklahoma.
Okay. Well, I was born about 6 miles south and east of Wilson in the little community of Rose Hill. And the way my family got here was Mother and Dad and Juanita and Leslie had been living in Florida when the crash came in '29, and they had to move back to Oklahoma City.
And Juanita and Leslie's your older sister and brother.
My older sister and brother. And they wound up living in a tent in Grandmother and Grandfather Clark's house.
Pardon me.
They had
Go ahead.
They had lost all of their money in the crash, and Granddad Clark was a primitive Baptist preacher, and they lived about a year and a half or 2 years in the tent in their backyard in Oklahoma City. And Dad got a chance to buy property of this farm south of town here, and so through the bank he bought the property and loaded the family up one morning in an old Essex, I believe it was, and drove all day long. And when they got out here to Midway, where they were to turn south and go about 3 or 4 miles, the lights wouldn't work on the car. And he got in the trailer and got 2 lanterns and put Leslie on. Leslie was about 9 and Juanita was 11, and put each one of those kids on the front fender of the car with the lantern. And Mother was pregnant with me. And this was in April, before I was born in July. And when they finally found the farmhouse down about 4 miles south of Midway, well, there it was after dark, strange house, no bed set up, so you can imagine what.
And your mother tired.
Tired, didn't, and wasn't happy at all.
No. Well, I can remember riding the school bus. And of course, we were one of the first ones to get on, and you were one of the last ones. And I think Anna Lois and Juanita Clark, not any relation to you, but they were before.
They were last. They were really last.
And you were before they were. And you remember those. Of course, you went to school with my sister and brother, but you remember those years.
Oh, sure.
Was Mr. Brewer the bus driver? You remember him?
No, Norman Clark was that. Really? I remember was, I think Mr. Brewer drove the bus after we moved to town. But Nord, we called him Nord, drove the bus. And I remember one Christmas time, I was on the bus and I had gotten a doll, an F&B Horseman doll. It was something like a Barbie now. It was kind of a fashion doll. And when I begged Mother to let me take the doll to school, and Juanita and Anna Lois,
excuse me, it's getting hot in here.
Juanita and Anna Lois asked me if they could keep my doll over the weekend. And I didn't know whether to surrender my doll or not, but I let them have my doll. And on Monday morning, when they got on the bus, they brought my doll back, and they'd made it an evening gown and 2 or 3 dresses, and I was so pleased. I almost got a spanking because I didn't bring my doll home
Oh,
though
I can
on
imagine.
Friday.
Yes, I can imagine. Please pardon me for coughing, but when I get warm and this sinus infection that everyone seems to be having has really left a cough that just keeps lingering on. But what year did you move to town?
I believe that it was 40. 1940.
Okay, when you were down there, you attended church then at Rose Hill.
At Rose Hill, yeah. Babe and Virgie D. Berry and Della Thompson and all of her kids.
Oh, yes. Let me see, what was Silas? Silas Thompson's family, yes.
And Aunt Ella Wood Taylor, little lady that was hard hearing.
Yes.
I remember as a child we'd sing, and she had lost her hearing later on in life, and she knew the tunes, you know, but she couldn't stay up with the words, so we would stand and keep her, point to the words to keep her up with the rest of the congregation singing.
Well, who were some of the preachers down there at the little Rose Hill church?
Well, I remember...
It was just a community church. All faiths were.
Small church. I remember Raymond Quick. He kind of grew up around here, and I think he preached his first sermon maybe there. And then when we came into town, there was Tom Spence, and later on J.P. Dane, and I remember a lot of them.
Yes. Well, now, is it when you were telling me one time about washing all these fruit jars, or jars that your mom canned food in? Is that on the farm?
That was when we lived on the farm, because we had a large peach orchard, and it seemed to me like that those peaches made a good bumper crop every year. And Mother said that I had to wash the jars, because my hand was the smallest hand on the place, and it would get down and clean get the jars cleaned in the corners, and I was the baby, and it fell my lot to wash the jars.
That seems to have been, I was the baby, and I had a little hand too, and so those big tubs of all those jars.
Well, it seemed like that we peeled the peaches in wash tubs. It wasn't 5 pounds. It was like 15 bushel, you know. So it seemed like terrible.
Peas or whatever. It wasn't just a little sack.
No.
Big,
no.
But you know, they had to.
But then we had fruit and food all winter, because Mother put it up, and it took care of the family during the winter time.
That's why Mom, 1,500 jars of canned goods was nothing, you know, and we had juice and cobblers all year.
And we had a cellar that you kept it in, so that it stayed cool in the summer and above freezing in the winter.
Well, when you moved to town, where did you move to?
Down just across the street from where I live now. I've always lived right there. I moved from one corner, just kind of kitty corner across the street, to the other house, and been there ever since.
Well, the house that burned, that you replaced, was that built? Did your dad build that, or was that your dad?
When we moved to town from the farm, we lived in this little tiny house across the street, and Dad got being a carpenter, he got enough lumber out of the first train load of lumber that came into Wilson.
Oh, really?
After World War II. You know, everything went to the war effort up until then. And he got enough lumber at the Hudson Houston Lumber Company to build that house. And he and Henry Macmillan would work all day on their paying job. And then they'd work until dark building this house. And Mother and I would start, we would screen sand and things, so that when they got there, they'd be ready to make cement to pour the foundation. And so I had a big hand in building the original house.
So it was very traumatic then.
It was very
the house
traumatic when it burned, because I had a lot of, I believe they call it now, sweat equity. I had some of that in that house. And we even, there was a man lived next door to us when we lived in that little house across the street, and he made cement blocks, had a machine to make cement blocks. And he had put a penny in a cement block, and I found it before Dad laid the foundation. And when we put it at the corner, so it would be the cornerstone, and it was spaced out, so it was the penny for that year, so that you could always know what year the house was built if you could go and polish up the penny.
Did you find that when the house burned?
No, I didn't find that, and it got the men when they pushed it over. They asked me to not even be in the county because it was too traumatic. I thought that was very nice of them to be considerate about my feelings about the house, so I was not allowed to see that phase of it.
And you know, my mom and Dad didn't build the home where they lived. My sister and her husband did. But after my sister sold Mom's home, it was very traumatic. It hurt to even drive by. And so I can imagine something you built or helped and had a part and watched your parents build. It was traumatic, but you have a lovely home on the same site now.
Yes.
And I know your mom and dad would be looking down with a smile on their face.
I'm sure they would be quite happy. I'm very comfortable and very happy.
Well, Anna, your mom, I remember your mom as a Wilson librarian. And I remember your dad is active in the church and in politics.
He was also the mayor.
Yes, in politics. Tell about, we're going to talk about your life too, but tell about their life.
Well, after Dad got to be mayor in about 1949, I believe it was. And about that time, the little librarian that we had was sick, and she gave it up. And so Mother said, well, I think I would like to do that job. So Mother went to work as the librarian, and she worked there for a little better than 19 years, not quite 20, I don't think. And in that time, well, Dad was a carpenter, and he worked around here, and also he got active in the election board, and he was the inspector on the election board for 35 years.
I started to say, he did that almost until the end of his life.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And he loved every minute.
And that's how you got in, because you started helping him in order to carry, the boxes were too heavy for him to handle.
I had to take him to Ardmore, and the next thing you know, I was doing So I guess it's been a family affair.
Family tradition.
Yeah.
Well, I know you went to Southward School, and I know you can remember walking up the boardwalk.
Oh, yes.
You were telling me one time about some of your friends, who were some of your close friends, girlfriends, that y'all would wrestle and scuffle and chase each other?
Down in my end of town, Norman Clark lived on one block, and Hugh Clark lived on the other, and Joyce and I were in the same age, same grade, and so we were good friends. And then we had Joyce Hurley in our class.
She's a card.
And on that boardwalk, across that low place from South Ward to before you start up the hill to where the railroad track was, Joyce Clark and Joyce Hurley would just scuffle and roll and tumble like two bear cubs. And I just walked along while they tumbled up. But when we got to Main Street, well, that broke it up because Joyce had to go on over what is now North Rotary home, and we had to turn east and go down Main Street to home. So the rolling and tumbling, it was not mean, it was just, I guess you'd call it horsefly.
Well, and did you eat uptown any?
Very little.
But
Tom Todd's chili bun was absolutely,
that's what I was wondering.
Oh,
What was that, a nickel? And
A
pop was
nickel, I believe. Well, we didn't have very many
No,
nickels.
no, but
so
we got the chili bun though.
oh, that was top. You know, I've never had another one
I have
tasted
never.
as good.
I've even tried to make them. I've even tried to get the buns. You know, you buy the buns fixed. It has never tasted that
He could
good.
cut that little
Round
cap
thing.
out. You know, my mother was an excellent bread maker. I can remember when we lived on the farm and she didn't work, you know, that when I'd get off of the bus out on the road and it was kind of a lane up to the house, when I got off the bus I could smell that bread cooking, and she'd have cinnamon rolls and light bread rolls and loaves of bread. She made our bread, you know, and so I had an opportunity to eat one of Tom Todd's chili buns one time, and so I said, now you have to make me some buns big enough, you know, but I never could cut it out and make it taste
It never
as good as his.
I think it's because we didn't get that much different or what.
It was, I guess, just the thought of buying it. I don't know.
It was so
Because
good.
we had good food to eat at home. you
Well,
know.
do you remember the Saturdays?
Oh.
Tell about your Saturdays.
Well, at our house, of course, I was in about the 5th or 6th grade, about the 5th grade, I guess, when we moved from the farm to town. And so we had more opportunity to go to town on Saturdays after that, or I did. But Saturdays was a day around our house to clean the house and bake pies or cakes for Sunday lunch.
Yeah, because people didn't cook on Sundays then. I mean, you did everything on Saturday.
And we washed and rolled our hair up and for Saturday night to go to town, and we went to town and bought groceries. And we'd sit in the car and watch the people go by. That was a big deal.
And if you wanted to be right in front of Charlie Wix's Cafe and the movie, right in front where you could see in Hearn Spradlin's store and Breimer's and Bob Hall's and Metro's and everything was down the little ways. And so, but if you wanted where really all the activity was, you'd get a friend to follow you to town, and you'd park your car there and leave it. So you would have a parking place where the family could sit in the car and watch everybody.
And visit with everybody.
And the store stayed open until about 10, didn't it?
I think it was 10 o'clock if the store stayed open. Yeah.
And
and then the kids went to the preview. But I could only go to the preview. Well, I had to get up and go to Sunday school no matter what. But if I was to not give them any trouble about getting up. If I went to the preview, I was to jump up and be in Sunday school
and
without any problems.
and then in high school, who were some of the teachers you remember?
Oh, there was Jessie Pass and Jenny Scott Jones. Those two always stand right out. There was Virginia Black taught Glee Club. Took us on choir trips. And
was it Miss Hurley or Miss Curley?
Curley was
the typing teacher.
Typing teacher was Miss Curley.
Yeah.
Before we, kind of in junior high, was Pearl McKay.
Yes, and then Mr. H.D. Gown was
Mr. Duncan, and Miss Duncan taught home ec.
Yes.
So,
and those were during the years that I remember your mom being the librarian. How long was your mom librarian?
About 19 or 20 years.
She really improved that library. Tell us some of her accomplishments with the library.
Well, during her reign as librarian, the city improved the little building. They refurbished it, and they became connected with the multi-county library system. Mother worked hard to get that on a ticket and get the millage and stuff voted in so that it would carry. And
I hated to see that little building burn.
oh,
That
yes,
was historic.
that that was like a member of the family.
Yes.
Yes, and that little library won the Dorothy Kenfield Fisher Award for the most improvement in a small rural library during the year, and they were given a $1,000 check to buy new books to furbish the library. So that was a big deal for her. She was
Well, tell me how you were telling me one time how we were talking about how my mom and your mom, I can remember they always had their gloves and their hats on. Tell how you had come across a picture here recently when she went to receive that award.
yes, I put Betty Manley asked me to put hats down in the library, and I found a picture of her receiving that $1,000. They had a big ceremony on the stage at the gym at the school, and people from State Library and all were here, and I found the picture of Mother receiving this check, and Charlie Metry was the mayor, and the people with the multi-county system, and I happened to have the gloves and the hat, so I put those in with the picture.
Oh, how neat. In the new library for display.
In the
how
display.
Neat. How neat. Well, before we get too far along, let's show the viewers a picture of your mom and dad when you were small, when I remember first meeting you. And we will share that with you, and then we'll have a couple of other pictures. And, oh, did you show the pictures? Okay, I forgot.
That first
I was
picture.
coughing so that... Well, good, I'm sorry.
That first picture,
I was coughing so that I'm proud you did.
that was taken in Montana when we went. In about 1945, we went out to visit Mother's only sister out in
really?
Montana.
Really?
So-
Well, okay then. Have you shown? Have we shown the other two?
No,
Okay.
no.
Let's have the
The-
camera person in to show the one of your mom and dad and your family celebrating
It
their
was
50th.
50th wedding anniversary.
Oh yes.
That's my family on the side by the cake, and my sister Juanita's husband and her two sons on the other side. We had a brother between the two of us that graduated from high school here and went to work in the shipyards in Alameda, California, and took pneumonia and died. So that left quite a bit of gap, about 11-year gap between the age of the two girls. So that was Mother and Daddy's 50th wedding anniversary and the whole family.
Okay, and let's start from the left. Oh, that's okay. Your two sons' names are
Larry and Brad.
and
and
you
her-
had married
Don Heath.
And now he was the grandson or nephew of Mr. and Mrs. Tom Sherrock.
Grandson.
Grandson. And then your sister's husband.
He's a native of Virginia, and her two sons' names Carl and Richard Wright.
Now y'all, who got into genealogy first? You or your sister Juanita?
Well, we kind of got plunged in, I guess, at the same time, because one of Mother's nephews' wife was Latter-day Saints, and they didn't have any pictures of my mother's father's family. So they wrote back here, and Mother sent all of our pictures to California.
Did you ever get them back?
Oh yes, we did, and that launched Juanita and I. Then we were so impressed that this lady would be so diligent to send our pictures back. I told Mother we'd never see them again, but we did. We got all the pictures back, and that started us in on. And at that time, Mother had to write on the back of these pictures who these people were to send them to California. And had she not done that, we probably wouldn't know till this day who some of those people were.
And you know, and I have boxes of pictures that I have not written on, and Mom didn't write on, and so I just know their ancestors.
Right.
And we should write on them, but how many times?
We just don't do it. We don't do it.
Well, you know, you lived all over the United States when you were married to Don because he was in the military. And then you came back to Wilson, and you've been so active in Rebecca's, in the Rebecca Lodge. And through your genealogy, you've been active and a volunteer docent at the Carter County Historical Museum. And now then, you're very active in the Wilson Historical Society on the Future Wilson Museum.
I'm getting that way, I guess.
Well, and you're on the Bylaws Committee.
I'm the chairperson of the Bylaws Committee.
And so...
I'm sure that Carol will line me up on another as soon as I get through with this one.
This Carol is Carol Gandy Pinches. That Regina Compton Gandy's daughter, Carl Compton's niece, and she's quite a blessing and asset to Wilson. And
she sure is.
And she keeps us all on our toes. And when she's with a project, she pushes it forward, and that's quite an asset. And so with her and her husband, George is quite an asset too.
It really
is. And they're helping us. And Wilson is going to have its own historical museum in the near future. And with your life story, Anna. I'm hoping to having it in the historical, you know, and the others that I have done into the Oklahoma Bicentennial in the year 2007 that the Oklahoma Historical Society is working on.
That would be great.
So, because you may have thought that your life has been nothing, but this is a way of life that it's gone. The kids don't know what it is to live the life that we live.
No.
And this is, and we have one more picture of you and your dad and your son.
That was just shortly before Dad died. We did this for a church picture. They wanted him in the church directory. This was after he was in the Veterans Center.
And he was a deacon at the Rexroth Baptist Church.
Baptist Church, right.
Well, bless his heart. And how was he when he...
He was 4 days past his 96th birthday when he died.
My goodness. Now, where did he come from?
He was born in Missouri.
Really?
And he came to Oklahoma in a covered wagon.
Oh.
And lived to see men walk on the moon. I think he had a wonderful experience during his lifetime.
He was always a pleasant man. Very
He
gentleman.
kind of loved life.
Yes, he did. Well, that's quite a tribute. And is there anything special? How have you seen Wilson change? And I know we've gone past the days of leaving our doors unlocked and cars unlocked and all that. But how have you seen Wilson change, and what's for the better and what's for the worse?
Well, you know, there was a time that, like, I was brought home to me when they built my house, because Dad had been a carpenter all these years and nailed nails by hand. And when they built my house, they did more work in a day putting up the house with a nail gun than Dad could do with a helper in a week. So we're doing things faster.
Yes.
And we have a little, if it were not for easier way of doing things, you know, we couldn't do them that fast. So we've had to just kind of change with progress, and there's been a lot of things that are better. There's some things that are not as good. Children need a mother at home when they get home from school.
And everybody has to work.
And now it takes two families to make the living, or two people in a family to make the living. So there's been good things and bad things about. I wouldn't want to go back. I'd have to wash those fruit jars.
Well, and you know, Anna, we've seen lots of things, and I think we both suffered breast cancer about the same time, and we're both survivors. And then we're both conquering the computer.
Yes. Well, I don't know. It may conquer us. It may conquer us.
So we're moving forward.
But it is wonderful to have a computer.
It is. It really is. And that's one of the nice things about the modern society. So, Anna, It's been great having you on the show.
Thank
There
you,
was so
Corrina.
much more that we couldn't even bring out. There wasn't time, and when I said a 30-minute show, you wondered what you...
What I would say.
Yeah, don't worry. You won't even get to
Right.
tell it all.
Right.
Thank you for joining us.